Hello everybody and welcome to SQL On The Edge. This is episode number 6 where we're going to talk about the new encryption technology, Always Encrypted. My name is Warner Chavez. I'm a SQL Server MCM and Microsoft Data Platform MVP, and I work at Pythian. Make sure you visit us at pythian.com. So the topic for today is going to be Always Encrypted. This is a new feature that's going to be in the box for SQL Server 2016 next year, and is actually already currently available on Azure SQL Database. So this is a new encryption technology. It's different from what exists before. We have column level encryption on SQL Server, but it's done on the server side. We also have the full transparent database encryption, but that is you can actually see the data if you have access to it, for example, for a DBA, and it also happens on the server side. So Always Encrypted is column level encryption, but it happens on the client. Decryption and encryption happen on the client. So what this means is that the actual processes happen at the driver level, so there's very little application change that has to happen to be able to support having encrypted columns. And second, even if you're an admin, even if you're the DBA, you're not going to be able to see the data if you don't have access to the client machine that has the actual column master key. At the same time, if somebody, let's say, were to completely steal your backup and you don't have it already encrypted, then it doesn't matter if they were to restore the database. As long as they don't have access to that client machine that has the column master key, they will not be able to see the data. Alright, so let's go into the demo. I'm going to go through setting up Always Encrypted for a salary column through the new Management Studio Wizard. And I'm also going to show how this data is decrypted using SSIS and the ADO.NET driver. Let's check the demo. Okay, I'm connected now to a SQL Server 2016. This is CTP 3.2, which is the latest one, December 2015, where I'm doing the recording. And I have this HR database I've already have loaded on this instance. And then this HR database, I have this table called salary. Now in the salary table, of course, there's going to be some salary information that I'm going to want to make confidential by using Always Encrypted. So I'm going to be encrypting this salary column so that it is going to be encrypted on the server side, and only the application will be able to see the real values. So let's jump into the wizard for Always Encrypted. It's here on Tasks, Encrypt Columns. And the wizard is just going to give us a quick explanation there on the splash page, telling us what to do. Enables clients to encrypt data inside client apps and not reveal the encryption keys to SQL. Now on the next page here, I can pick from all the different columns on the different tables. Here I'm going to pick salary, and I'm going to pick the specific salary column. Now here as well is where I can pick the different type of encryption used for this column. So as you can see, there's two options. There's deterministic and there's also randomized. So randomized is when you want the same source values to give you different encrypted values. Deterministic, if the same source values are used, then it's going to give you the same encrypted values. For salary then, I would want to make it randomized so that if somebody looks at the encrypted values, they won't even be able to tell that they're the same salaries for different records. I'll press next here. And here I have another option to use either the Windows Certificate Store or the Azure Key Vault. In this demo, I'm just going to pick the Windows Certificate Store for the machine where I'm running Management Studio. I also have the choice to select the master key source is going to be either the current user certificate store or it's going to be the local machine certificate store. In this case, I'm going to select the local machine certificate store. And then I'm just going to go next. Here I can have the choice of generating a PowerShell script or to just proceed to finish now. If I want to script it on PowerShell to save it or to do another deployment later, I can do so at this point, and it'll just tell me where to save it on my computer. Here we can go through the summary of the instance, the database, the master key that we're going to create in, the encryption key, and the specific column that we're trying to encrypt. Once you're good, you can press finish, and it'll give you a progress report. The longest part will be the part where it actually encrypts the table, depending on the size of your table, of course. Once it's done, we can close it, and now we can go back into our salary table and we can select from it again And now we can see the difference that the salary table has been turned into a binary column and it has encrypted values now. So even if I'm a DBA and I can select from all the tables in the instance, the only thing I can see are these encrypted values, and the decryption keys are not on the SQL Server, so I have no access to them. Let's look at decrypting now. So I'm connected to SSIS here on an SSIS project. I'm using the latest release of the SQL data tools, and I installed .NET 4.6, which is the version required for Always Encrypted. As you can see, I created an ADO.NET source to be able to show you guys the decryption, right? So it has to be an ADO.NET driver, the one that is compatible with Always Encrypted, and it has to be .NET 4.6. So I can go to there, I can create a new connection manager. I'll just create a new connection there, a new ADO.NET connection. I'll specify my SQL Server name. So this is the one where I am hosting that salary table with that salary column, and I'll pick there my HR database. And now to make this work with Always Encrypted, I have to use this column encryption setting. You can see it there in the security section of the properties for the ADO.NET connection. So I just pick column encryption setting and I set it to enabled. And that's pretty much all I have to do from the connection string. My account also has to have access to the column master key certificate that I stored on the local certificate store. At this point, I can pick salary, and I can just do a preview of the table to be able to see if the values were decrypted. In this case, we can see that they have been decrypted, but they're only visible now to the SSIS process that is running on the client machine that has that encryption key. It is not visible to anybody running this on like the SQL Server side. It's not visible to DBAs. It's not visible to any other type of admin on the SQL Server side. It's only visible from the account on the client side. Okay, so I hope you got a good overview of how Always Encrypted is set up using Management Studio and how the decryption happens on the client as well. There's also a T-SQL commands that surface this feature as well. I didn't show it on the demo, but you can definitely take a look at it on the new 2016 books online documentation. Something else that we saw, there's different types of encryption, right? There's randomized or deterministic, depending on what you want to do with the column, if you want to search for it or not. There's different key stores of the Wizard, completely supports the Windows Certificate Store or the Azure Key Vault, but you can plug in through the existing API other third-party software key providers as well. And finally, if you are thinking of using this technology and you already have some pre-existing data that you will want to set up with Always Encrypted, you will have to take an outage. That's what Microsoft recommends, so that you don't end up with any kind of data loss scenario. So take an outage, run through the encryption process, and then start your applications back up. Same thing if it happens with either the SQL 2016 release or if you're going to do it with Azure SQL Database. Also keep in mind that the encryption happens on the client where you're running. So if you have a really large table, it might take a while. Make sure you test it out beforehand before doing the production cutover. Alright, so this was episode number 6, Always Encrypted. Stay tuned for more episodes coming soon. Bye.